Second point on communication, which is that using too much the word communication blurs it, and at the end we don't know what we are speaking about. So we could play a little game, which is to replay the word communication with a number of words, but still keep the second part of the sentence. What if we say information is key? What if we say education is key? What if we say debate is key? What if we say manipulation is key? And so on and so on. Well, it might give a number of dimension or insights on what is really at stake in the process we are speaking about. In a very pragmatic way, I would say that the term communication actually comprises a number of dimensions that we have to separate. The first one will be the one of information, of course, but which is to be separated into two. Information is about what is to be known, let's say at a very slight level on truths that can be considered as solid. Let's say what is a virus, for instance, and information about what is to be done, which is the main problem of public enforcers. Okay, so and it has to do with what Professor Chan was indeed labeling enforcement. And I think we don't have to go away from the issue of enforcement, because in time of crisis, the main and first problem is what is to be ethically and practically enforced. What is to be enforced? What do we have a moral duty to consider as being enforced? Okay. And I think most of the debates we are speaking about, for instance, about vaccines and medical staff and so on, is about what is the right level and the right nature of the fact which have to be enforced, which have to go with a specific information policy that might be different from the rest of the communication policy. The second level, of course, is the one of education, and I think we're not speaking about it, but it's basic, because it goes with what Professor Chan was saying about the time issue. And I think that crisis has to do with time management, and it goes a long time before crisis itself. And I personally find very strange that after the SARS crisis and other ones, there has not been a reflection on long-term education issues, including high school education, for instance, when it comes to biology education and a number of other ones. And I have to say that in my time, biology education was a total disaster. I don't remember one thing useful for the things we have, or the crisis we have to deal now. So how do we do with long-term education issues, including at the level of the European Commission, for instance, when it comes to Europe, that would prepare appropriate answers in time of crisis? The third level I just spoke about is the one of manipulation. I do agree with the point that was done, indeed, that there is a problem of, the plot mentality. There is always the idea in the public, indeed, that someone is playing with them. Okay, that's true. But it comes also with the fact that we are not pointing out to the fact that in time of crisis, there are also vested interests, starting from the one from the media, for instance, selling. So a reflection on manipulation issues at the time of internet, at the time of communication we are in, cannot be avoided. We just cannot play, the ostrich and go into the sand and say everyone is nice and honest and so on, because it is not true. So being honest about communication means to recognize that no one is totally honest in that kind of process, and that some people are less honest than others. And to recognize the fact that life is about vested interests that have to be identified. Okay. And I would say communication as such is not only the kind of ensemble in which all those dimensions are taking place, it is a separate dimension that takes all those ones into consideration, including one that I forgot to mention, which is the one of debate at edge. And debate and dialogue also has rules. and it's a dimension which is to be separated from the one of information and education, for instance. So let's say that communication is a systemic role, systemic, I would say, linguistic and symbolic role, in which dimensions of information, education, manipulation, and public debate take place. Okay. In that respect, and that would be my last point, what is the role of public actors, public enforcers? Well, I would say, maybe in another way, what Professor Chan has said. Of course, I agree about honesty, spontaneity, and so on. But let me say first something important. First rule of communication for public actors, they should not communicate too much. Communication is important and has to be quick, but channels are not always through public actors identified as such. Because indeed the risk of misinterpretation of words spoken by very public figures like health ministers, for instance, is very, very high, and is even unavoidable. Of course, something which might not be a blunder, but can be interpreted as a blunder, will be said very quickly. So I think according to the nature and role of the function and role of the person who is speaking, indeed, for instance, if it is the person in charge of enforcement, the number and volume and strength of the words has to be carefully calibrated. And it is not the same people who are going to deliver the same messages. And I think this is very important. The messenger is very much the message. Okay, basic rule of communication. Okay, so who is going to deliver which kind of message is also something that should be taken into consideration in different time spans, long term and crisis. And that those dimensions have to be taken together, and the worst mistake to do is to concentrate on short time spans as the one of crisis without taking into account the long, slow and muddy process through which civil societies and public actors today are trying to find a meaningful interaction that is creative of new solidarities and consensus. Many thanks.